Hey everyone, my name is Bo Sanders. I wanted to throw out an idea for your consideration about moving away from supernatural, both as our language and our understanding. So this started last month when we were having a podcast episode, a live book discussion for Piecing It All Together. That's my podcast with Randy. We were reading Richard Twiss's book, Rescuing the Gospel from the Cowboys. And from minute 7 to 14, you can listen to that podcast episode. The conversation turned to the difference between natural and supernatural, and how do you get away from a supernatural understanding. And this is something that for me has taken me the last 12 years incrementally moving away from a supernatural understanding. I come from an evangelical charismatic background where this is sort of assumed. And it's almost like a second language, that we're not exactly fluent in it, but that we're pretty well versed. And so I have made 5 sort of incremental changes to reorient myself and head a different direction toward a more integrated and holistic understanding of the universe and how the world works. So I wanted to propose that to you and see if you had any thoughts on it. Hopefully it'll be helpful to you as well if you are on that deconstructive journey trying to move out of the supernatural. The first place to start for me is the fact that Jesus didn't believe in the supernatural. He may have believed in the miraculous, he clearly believed in the miraculous, but the word supernatural occurs nowhere in Scripture, and it's not even a Jewish concept. There's no sort of framework for spiritual as a category like we have these categories. And so it's just helpful to begin by saying, look, Jesus didn't believe in the supernatural. So I'm not obligated to that in any way. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that Jesus said, you'll know a tree by its fruit. And the supernatural has borne bad fruit over the last 500 years. This division that we do, this either or thing of natural or supernatural, right? We do it in so many of our dualistic ways of thinking, has borne really, really bad fruit and has made the church complicit in some pretty atrocious stuff throughout Christian history, and specifically in the colonial period, then the industrial period, and now in the technological era. So it has borne bad fruit, and we're not obligated to continue to prop up a rotten tree. The third move for me was to view all of creation as a revelation of God. That I am both a part of creation and am called to care for creation. I'm not different from creation. In fact, I am a narrative mammal, complete with nipples and a belly button. I am a part of creation. From dust I came, and to dust I shall return. The fourth step is to realize that the church messed up when it conceded in our last 500 years of the Enlightenment, in the scientific age or the age of reason, conceded the natural world to science, and that we took all the leftovers, and that everything else was the supernatural. Because the more we come to understand about how the world works, the more that science can explain, the less we need God. In fact, God has actually been reduced down to a very small role in the world, and there's something tragic about that, because we conceded the rules of a game that we were never going to win. And it's just so unsatisfying. So the fifth and final step for me on my journey so far has been to confess that God's work is the most natural thing in the world. In fact, the problem with this supernatural God is that it's an idol. It's this tragic thing that has happened where we have moved from the language being sort of metaphorical or theopoetic, some of us like to say, and it moved from being more fluid in understanding like that to being more concrete and foundational. And when that happened, it moved from being helpful imagery to an idol that is ultimately no God at all. There's no there. It's unsatisfying and ultimately unhelpful. It's impotent. So I just want to be clear about this. For me, this is not semantics. This is not a rhetorical advice. This is not just being playful with verbiage. This is a different way of viewing and participating in the world. And it comes with a different ontology, cosmology, and metaphysic. I can talk more about that if that would be helpful to you. But this is not me being clever. This is actually a different way of seeing and participating in creation. So what I'd like to invite you to do is to turn and look out the window on the beauty of creation and confess this out loud. There is no such thing as the supernatural. God's work is the most natural thing in the world. So in summary, Jesus didn't believe in the supernatural. It has not borne good fruit throughout history. Creation is living and a revelation of God. The church messed up historically when it conceded the rules to science that could explain the natural, and that we would take everything that was left over in the supernatural. And we need to proclaim, not just reclaim, profess and confess that God's work is the most natural thing in the world. I hope that this has been helpful. There's a write-up on my blog. This is going to be on YouTube, and you can go and listen to the podcast of Piecing It All Together. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to your feedback. There's going to be more videos and posts coming as we are all sort of held up in our social distancing. So I hope that you are well, and I would love to interact with you.